All right, hey, we are in the December 2018 edition of the Mayor's Roundtable, and gosh, it was just a few months ago we started this, and we've had some good comments about it, and it's just a chance for us to catch up with all the folks in Bucyrus about what's going on this month, and we're going to take this opportunity in December, first of all, to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and then we're going to kind of look back on 2018 and then take a few minutes at the end to talk about what's coming down the pike in 2019. So we want to thank our producer, once again, Mr. Gary Hess, for doing a fine job of getting this together. We have our team that is the administration of the city. Next to me is our administrative assistant, Kelly Patterson. And next to Kelly Patterson is our safety service director, Mr. Jeff Wagner. I happen to be the mayor. It's my it's not really a round table, but I guess this is the show that we put together to kind of just let you know that there's things that we're doing here in the city that you may not see and you may not have experienced, but we'd like to let you know about them. And as always, we'd love to hear comments. Email us. The email is always on this network station, channel 1021, right, Gary? 1021, did I get it right? 22? No, I got it right, 1021. So our emails and our phone numbers are on there. So we're gonna open it up to everybody. We've had a busy year. I'll tell you, everything is, city government is busy. 2018 was no exception. A lot of projects going on. We finished some projects. We're looking to the future with some projects. So one thing, let's start out the kind of the beginning of last year. I know, and back in 2017, we began our Southern Avenue project. That was a big project. And Mr. Wagner, you want to tell them what that Southern Avenue project was that we finished in 2018?
Well, we, as part of our EPA agreement was to keep separating storm water from sanitary sewer water. That was one of many legs that we're going to go through. It was one of the main corridors that we got finished up to be able to start expanding out into other areas of town to hook into that storm line. And finally got it finished up. Still have a few issues there that we need to get corrected, and we'll work on that this next spring.
But the paving job is pretty well complete. There's a little bit of the ponding issues here and there we're going to correct here. Speaking of a major issue, that was in the south end. The north enders were, on my street especially, we just finished a project which has been in the making for probably 10 years or more. I remember reading about it. I was telling you guys, I remember reading about it in the newspaper in 2007. And that's the Plymouth Street project. And Plymouth Street has been redone. We've done some storm separation on Plymouth Street. And you want to tell a little bit about that too?
Yeah, that was an ODOT LEP project that they do their part and run the project, and actually all the drawings have to go through ODOT, and they give their stamp of approval. And we've had numerous meetings before it started with residents on Plymouth Street if there was any changes or additions, and there was some that came about during the project. We still have some things that we got to finish up next spring. Overall, for the size of project it was, and if it wasn't for ODOT, we wouldn't be doing curbing and sidewalks and things like that if it wasn't for their share. We have our street levy fund, which, we do our mill and pave or our street repairs from, that we get generated every year. Mm-hmm. And that money is very nice to have to use to keep our streets in better conditions than most towns or cities. And that project there was one of them where, it was probably more than 20, probably 40% of the project was ours. A lot of it was the street part, but I'll tell you, one of the nicer avenues to come into town now, where they've been put aside for many, many years, and another great corridor into this city of Bucyrus.
It is too, and I appreciate that because it was in rough shape. The sidewalks in that area in Plymouth Street were really rough. We made a big improvement on the sidewalks. It's a heavily pedestrian traffic area. Going down Plymouth Street and down Lane to maybe Kroger, some of the business district, or down Sandusky. So I know my daughters were in town, and for Thanksgiving, they like to jog, and it was always an adventure before, going down Irving or Plymouth. But now Plymouth Street sidewalks and curbs look great. And like Mr. Wagner said, there's going to be a few things that are, that's on that punch list that's going to be corrected. So, if you live out there and you have any issues, don't worry about it. Most likely it's on our list to correct in the spring. It's a big issue. I'm not going to talk about some of the other issues on the agenda for 2019 yet, which a lot of them include mill and pave and some changes in our state routes. But let's stay in 2017. I'm sorry, 2018. Excuse me. Thank you. And that's what Kelly does best. Half the day she's correcting us and keeping us from making the mistakes. Kelly, tell us a little bit about, I know you've talked about it in the past, but what does your job entail with some of these things, like these projects too? And I know you wear a lot of hats here. People don't realize how many hats you wear. You greet people. You work with all the city workers. You work with us. You work with the engineers. Jeff, going to say something?
Well, I would like to add something before she starts, because, and we'll talk a little bit about, I know we have upcoming projects,
Right,
but
right.
I think, Kelly, it would be great for them to hear how long it takes for a project to go from start to finish, especially with ODOT, as we're continuing different things that have come up, and most recently our Route 4 project of North Sandusky, but there's quite a process, is there not, to go through
Yes.
to get it in the right
Yes.
steps?
First, we need to come up with the idea, whether ODOT comes to us or we have the idea. We have to make sure that the idea is then referred to council. Council either needs to discuss it in one of the committees, service plating, health and safety, wherever that needs to lie, and then also in the financing. Because we have to be able to authorize the service director to be able to go out to bid for the project. We have to be able to make an agreement for the project.
With ODOT or whoever the entity is.
Right.
But it comes from Planning Commission first.
Yes, and Planning Commission has it. Planning Commission sends it back to council from plating. So there are a lot of steps that each department, whether it's council or if it's administration or with our engineers, and in that process, we're working with the engineers to make sure that we have all of the drawings, all of the, I'm sorry, we lost my.
All the plan.
Thank you, the plans, everything
And
in
the
place.
cost,
yeah.
And if like the ODOT, the LET project, if they're taking care of it, then we don't have to necessarily do the bid process, but if
But we
we're.
still have legislation and all that.
Yes,
stuff.
legislation is all
Yeah.
part of it. If we're doing the project, then we have to award a bid, or we have to go out for bid, we have to award the bid, we have to have, meetings to allow those approvals, then we have to have pre-construction meetings. I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot of work.
And that's just before the project ever even begins. We're all working with everybody.
And then when it begins, then we're working with them to make possible changes that need to be made and make sure everything is how we want it to be too. So, and that depends on whether it's an ODOT project or a project that we do on our own, depending on how we go about those types of things. But it's some of these processes can take 2-3 years, before they
And
actually-
unfortunately, that's
Yeah.
what happens when council changes every 2 years. And some people that aren't on council anymore,
Yeah.
that approved the project
Yeah.
for us to move forward, are not on. So then when they hear about it sometimes, well, I didn't know about that. Well, it's already been approved so far before we get to the finance part. So sometimes, over a 2-year period, if there might be an overlap or some people that don't know about it, and that's just the way things work out with projects.
And also, ODOT, their fiscal year runs July 1 to June 30th, and that's different than our calendar year. So
Yeah.
their project, they don't want to hold off in the spring when we want to go,
Sure.
full bore. So, until they hit that July 1 mark, and then they're
Mhm.
ready to go. And so those timetables, that plays a big part
Sure,
into
does play a
these
big part.
projects as well. So
Yeah, and everything has to be,
weather,
yeah, weather makes a part there. And we have to give notices on things too, and we just don't, it doesn't work quite like secular business, like private industry. Everything is done, sunshine laws, and we make sure we have periods of comment from everyone. How many meetings, Jeff, did we have with the Plymouth Street residents? We had 3 of them, I believe.
3 or 4
Yeah.
that we had,
Yeah.
because it got pushed back a little bit, and, there were changes made to the drawings because ODOT had some
Mhm.
policy change, and,
Sure.
you can't do anything but go ahead and go with them and try to go meet with them in Ashland, and hopefully you can get your engineer to get them changed
Yeah.
to what their
Yeah.
expectations are.
But all in all, I think Plymouth Street, the completion of it is a real feather in the cap.
I thought that traffic moved really smooth
Oh,
over on
yeah,
Irving,
yeah.
and the Irving Street residents were so
We
wonderful.
appreciate the Irving Street residents not parking on the street during that time.
But just helping everything
Oh,
out.
yeah, and then the contractors were very good about working with the residents for what they wanted to. So now, I'll say one more thing about Plymouth Street, because we had to take 32 mature trees out of the tree lawns there because of the new curbs. They just wouldn't have survived, and so our tree board is working on a plan. They'll come in the fall of 2019 to refoliate Plymouth Street. So, we have a lot of wires on Plymouth Street. We may ask, well, why didn't we bury the wires? The wires could have been buried, but it was well over $1 million to do that, and that would have been a cost borne completely by the city. And we didn't think that was money we wanted to invest, or we didn't have the money. We had to borrow the money. So we're going to come through, and Tree Board's going to make a plan. We had Stephanie Miller in town this week from Ohio Department of Natural Resources as our rep, and gave us some ideas on how we go about that. And anything else about Plymouth Street before I move on to? I did kind of mention something about the tree board. We've got an excellent tree board. It was our first full year. We were awarded in April our very first Tree City USA award, and very proud of that. There's no cost to that award. I mean, it's a free award. You just have to have a tree program in your city, and you have to have a small budget to prune trees, to take out dead trees, or to plant trees. They don't give you any specific specifications, but we were able to, this year, receive that award. That was for 2017. We're applying again for 2018 right now. Some of the things we've done in the city is we've completed the plantings on the corridor. It's very important to us to complete from City Hall South down to Oakwood, which is basically down to just a few trees. And at one time, that was a beautiful canopy. So we planted some London planes, which is a relative of sycamore tree. They're going to have a beautiful canopy here, and they'll grow. They're fairly quick growing, so probably within 10 years we should see some beauty there. And Tree Board meets once a month. Those are all public meetings too, so we're very proud of that.
And the tree board, that's
Yeah.
through the Arbor Day Foundation, is that?
The Tree City Award?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Tree City Awards to the Arbor Day Foundation, yeah. And you can see more about that on the internet. And those meetings are all open to the public too. Something that was important to me, I know the city schools came to us in 2017, and we were always happy to work with the city schools. We have one resource officer at the high school right now, Officer Joe Stahl, and those are tremendous assets to both the city and to the school. They came to us and asked about having a resource officer at the elementary school. You want to talk about that a little bit, Kelly?
Well, I know personally as a parent that the students love Officer Joe Stahl. She is absolutely amazing. Every day my son sees her, he has to give her a hug, and she makes sure that he stays in line, and she takes over for me when I'm not there.
Sure.
But she does that with all the students. I know that the newest officer, Officer Mata, the children at the elementary love him.
Mhm.
The other day there was something, he likes to play games with them,
Mhm.
and he's very competitive.
Sure, of
And the
course.
kids finds that they want to be more competitive than him.
No, oh, okay.
So it works really well, but for that aspect of it, the resource officers are amazing for those kids.
Isn't that great? Jimmy Mata is our new resource officer, and he's a former military, and we were so happy when he applied here, and we hired him, and he's doing a fantastic job over the school. And I know, Jeff, you put that agreement together with this. So how did that work? Can you tell them how the agreement
Well, the
works?
police chief, they actually went and met with the school, and
Yeah.
they're funding the majority of this salary for one officer for a year.
Sure.
So we could add,
Sure.
a second officer for them, which we thank them for that, and, it helps them fill in on vacations, and during the summer when kids aren't in school, then we have someone that we actually have on our schedule. So that's a benefit to us too.
So, yeah, and that's
Because we're paying
yeah,
for
and
it
you,
during the summer.
Kelly, you mentor, you just mentored today. We thank you for doing that. I mean, that's incredible thing. So, and you can see the effect that has on the
Oh,
children.
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes the children don't have the benefits, of a father and mother in the house, and
Well,
that
we just had today a discussion that the one little boy is living with his 80-year-old grandfather,
Yeah,
and he doesn't do a lot of the little kid things like
Sure.
playing games or
Sure.
puzzles or
I don't
whatever.
either. I'm a 64-year-old grandfather.
But I mean, he's a little kid and he
Yeah.
should be outside playing,
Sure,
and
sure.
he should. And I'm not putting the grandfather down,
No,
because
no, you
kudos
just-
to the grandfather for being able to be there for this little boy.
Yeah.
But that's what the mentoring program is for, is to just kind of give another adult
Sure.
to these kids, just to kind of let them know that they're well thought
They're
of.
important.
Maybe to help teach them just a few more little things. Like this year, I just taught my little guy how to play checkers. He'd
Great.
never played checkers
No
before. He's in
kidding.
4th grade,
Yeah.
and he loves it.
Oh,
Absolutely
yeah.
loves checkers. So
Everybody needs to know how to play checkers.
well, and that's what I thought
Thank
too.
you for doing that.
But so like the little boy with the 80-year-old grandfather, Grandpa, I'm sure knows how to play checkers,
Sure.
but he probably isn't thinking, I want to
Yeah.
teach this little guy.
Sure.
So anyhow, it's just it's.
How many mentors?
I believe that we have 30
30,
mentors,
okay.
and that
Yeah.
would be through all 3 schools.
Great.
Yes.
So we thank Kevin Kimmel for allowing us to, to have that kind of program in the city. So
Kevin
important.
Kimmel is a mentor. I get to
Kevin's
see
a mentor
him.
himself,
Yep,
yeah.
I get to see him
What a
on
great guy.
Wednesdays.
What a
and-
great guy. Well, let's talk about a couple more things, then we're going to break a little bit, and we're going to talk about 2019, things that are coming up next year. Jeff, tell us a little bit about your plan for selling Bucyrus water outside city limits.
Well, as I'm sure many people have heard and talked about, we talked about Sulphur Springs and Stetzer Road, and we would have liked to have done that, but that kind of got put on the back burner, and we wish luck to all them people. I hope they get their fresh water, and we have now moved out to County Road 35.
Sure. County Road 35 is right off 100, 19
Off of 19 and
Yeah,
100.
yeah.
It's an extension of Beale Avenue, actually, going east. But
Mhm.
we have a few people out there that expressed a lot of interest, and we've now moved forward, and looks like it's probably going to be in January that
Great.
we're going to be laying a water line out partway out
Yeah.
County Road 35.
Yeah.
And looks like our next project after that, we're going to be moving Route 4 north, which still working on the residents. Haven't had much interest, but we have some new businesses maybe going to pop up out there on Route 4 north. So we're going to try to run a water line out there and at least start with them and try
And
to.
tell them why we're doing it. We need revenue, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the more revenue we have, obviously we're paying for a new water plant, and
Yeah, and we're just trying to grow our customer base so that spreads that expense out to
Right.
more people, and we want to grow, and as we grow out these areas, and eventually, maybe someday, we might not see it, but the city of Bucyrus, we hope will grow
yeah.
down the road. So
We
we
do.
have to plan for the future.
We are planning for future growth. We're not sitting idly by here. We're working with new businesses all the time, and fortunately, our factories are all hiring. Our businesses are working. all looking for people. So if you're seeing this, if you have a relative that's, you know, that may want to move, they're looking for a new job, looking for a new start, Bucyrus is a great place to do that. We're all born and raised in the area, and I actually moved away with my wife years ago. We moved back here to raise our children, and have never looked back. We've loved it. So before we break and then go into 2019, you have something to add? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, tell the people what you have.
So as we talk about the expansion of our water services outside city limits, I also want to stress as people, you know, receive their utility bill and, you know, they look at that and they call that their water bill. And, you know, if they just break the water part out of their bill, you know, you're talking 1,496 gallons of water in a month. That's your minimum for like $21.44. Now, if you use more water than that, obviously that part of your bill is going to go up. But that equates out to like $0.015 a gallon, which, you know, you can go to any store and buy a little pint of water for $2. I mean, so I understand, and people have shown great concern or made comments about the price of our water and our utility bill, but, you know, that's very inexpensive for something that you do have to have every day. You know, I live in the city, we all live in the city, and, you know, we don't like raising our bill either, but it's just a necessity of life, and the priority is you have to have your water, and it's very inexpensive if you really sit down and break it down of how much it really costs for you to have water in your home.
And that $21 is roughly about 4 cups of expensive coffee, right? So it's all relative. It's all relative. A gallon of water is roughly about $0.015. We know we've had some raises. We have to certainly, if you need to buy a new car, you're going to have a car payment. We had to buy a new water plant, so we're going to be paying for that. The good news is we've already made 3 payments on that. We've only got 37 to go, so it's going quickly. You know, it's going quickly, but it'll be paid off, and once it's paid off, we'll have this state-of-the-art water plant that'll still be in good shape, and hopefully then down the road, that'll be another 19 years, 18 and a half years. They'll you know, can look at the rates then, but well, we appreciate everything.
I have 2 things.
Okay,
for
Kelly has a
Rockland
couple
18.
things for, yep.
The Ohio Department of Health requires a level 2 food certification to run the concession stand. Mr. Wagner and I got to sit through 2 days of training for that.
You got to sweat through 2 days of training, so.
Yes, it was rough.
Yeah.
But we will have our results back hopefully by the end of this week.
So we'll have hopefully 2 certified, or at least 1 certified people person to be able to run the concession stands. Can I add one more thing? Kudos to Valerie Sprang from our tree board and Councilman Bruce Truca, who just yesterday actually graduated from Ohio Department of Natural Resources Tree Academy with a diploma. And we've got a good group of people. So we're always working to make the city better and to learn more. We're going out to learn more about this thing. Since you brought up the park, tell us about some of the improvements on the park that we laid the groundwork for in 2018.
Well, we started off with the great Hyde basketball court,
Great, yeah.
which turned out fantastic, and we thank the Hyde family for that.
Yes, that was a great gift.
And working with us and their nice donation to pull that off. I think it's fantastic, and I really thank the community for helping take care of it, because we haven't had any issues of
No issues.
vandalism or graffiti, and that's a benefit, because
Yes, it is.
you know, to do something like that and to maintain it. We did start on replacing the tennis ball courts, and we were in the process of adding pickleball. The poles are in the ground. We didn't get the weather cooperate with our company that we used for the Hyde basketball court to come back and do those courts. We do have all the fencing up, and we now are looking probably to put a volleyball court in on the other side of the pickleball courts, and maybe relocate that volleyball court.
The sand volleyball court, yeah.
And then also we're renovating the bottom of the pool right now, and getting our filtering system and our all up to speed to where it should be, and hopefully we'll keep getting weather to cooperate, and that we'll have that open in time for
Yeah, that's a
the
big
summer.
job. Yeah, that's a wonderful pool, wonderful asset to the community, and but you know, needed some repair. So
Yeah.
we reached out, and we're always trying to make some improvements to all the parks. Harmon Park had some issues with about 8 or 10 trees there which were dead, so those were just removed this fall. Stumps will be coming out soon, and it's going to be once the water plant is torn down there, hopefully expand the soccer fields over in that area too. That's the plan. Well, let's take a good, unless you want to add anything about 2018, we'll go ahead and take a break and come back in 2019.
No, I don't.
Well, go ahead. Come, this is your chance to be, you know.
I have one thing.
Kelly's got something she wants to say. Okay.
It may not be the best topic, but it's
Okay,
still going to
uh-oh.
be mentioned.
Got my pen.
Leaves. The
Oh,
leaves came
yeah.
down late this year,
Mhm.
and it was a lot for our crews to try to keep
Mhm.
up with. We're shorthanded. We're in the process of hiring a couple people, trying to get that in place. Leaves need to stay in the tree lawn, not out in the street. I know, talking to the service foreman, him and I have discussed this. They start in the south, they work their way to the north. They try to keep up with it the best they can. Garbage has to take top
Sure,
priority.
of course,
That
of
has to go out. Unfortunately, when the leaves did fall, we were in the middle of a couple holidays that fell in there, and that's just the way it was. But also, when you put your leaves out into your tree lawn, if you park in front of it, because that happens, if
Mhm.
there's cars in the way, then our crews can't always get to them. They might just bypass you and get you. Hopefully, the car will be moved by the time
Sure,
they come back
sure.
around. So just wanted to kind of put that out there. You know, it's not that our crews aren't working to do
They're
it,
working,
you know,
yeah.
but, you know, just let us know.
It
Call.
was an
call-
unusual year.
Yes,
Yeah.
just call the city hall, give us the address, and we'll do our best to get everybody.
One thing that people don't realize about leaf pickup, it's different than the garbage pickup. They're on the back of a truck going boom, boom, boom. Leaf pickup is walking, and you're walking 80 miles in the city street. It's like walking from here to Akron. All right, so you walk along this machine and you suck up leaves, which takes another 10 or 15 minutes, and if they're frozen, it takes them a little longer. But it's a much slower process. And being
Right.
shorthanded, so we apologize this year. We had some, we got delayed, but we made really, really good progress, and it should be in. We'll go around one more time. And Kelly said we started at the south end. I'm a north end guy, and I just want to let you know the reason we started at the south end is why, Jeff.
There typically, well, there's just more leaves at the south end of town than the north end.
And also because the equipment is there housed on the south end. So you start there.
Just trying to be efficient.
Just trying to be efficient. They've already made 3 trips to town. They'll be making the 4th soon. So,
Yeah, they were out
so
again
thanks for your
this morning.
patience. Thanks for your patience. We are always looking at those types of things. So, and then if you have some comment about city services, just call us. You don't need to put it on Facebook or something. Just call us. We like to hear about it. We like to correct it.
We have voicemail, we have email.
Voicemail, emails, stop up.
Yep.
We're happy. We want to make sure you're happy because that's what we're here for. Anything else you got something else? We're
Yeah,
never going to get out of 2018. so-
Well, and this just
it'll be 2019 before we get out of 2018.
and this just came about in the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
that there was some, as we talk about the utility bill, and we talk about, we have the aggregation program for the small businesses and the city residents.
Mhm.
And, there was comments made that, why are we on this program? The remark that got made that was, well, my rate was it was below your rate, what you're gonna be in the aggregation for 1 month. Well, we did do some research, and when you're on the open market with AEP, you are gonna get whatever the rate is that month. It's gonna go up and down, and we did do the research on that, and for the last 12 months, that rate averaged higher than what we're paying in the aggregation program. You can opt out anytime you want, but just understand if something happens and that electric rate starts to go up, you're going to pay the open market rate where we're locked in for 3 years. So if you got any questions about that or the gas rate, which it just took a hike and we locked in at a very good rate for 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
So if you got
We
any
did.
questions, please feel free to call, stop up. Kelly has the information, I do. We'll be happy to go over it with you. And we'll take a look at your bill, and if we need to send it in to our representative, we can do that.
Sure.
We'll be
Yeah.
glad to help you out.
And you can opt out. It's your choice too, but we have negotiated some very good rates, especially the natural gas rate, and we're very proud of that. And we're, like I say, we're out here to negotiate the best possible rate to save you money. think we can wrap up 2018. And we'll be back in just a minute with the Christmas edition of the Mayor's Roundtable. Stay right where you are. Welcome back. We're back with the 2018, December 2018 Christmas edition of the Mayor's Roundtable. So our guests again are Mr. Jeff Wagner, Safety Service Director, Ms. Kelly Patterson, sitting right next to me. She's our Administrative Assistant. First session, we talked about kind of a look back on 2018, some of the highlights. Well, there's a lot of things going on we never even got to. But we want to talk about some of the bigger things that we were working on and then lead into 2019, because there's some large things coming up in 2019. Mr. Wagner, first, can you tell me, when we're doing this storm separation, we were able in 2018 to obtain a zero interest loan, which was a fantastic opportunity for us. What are we using that money for? Do you remember?
Well, we have, like I commented earlier, we are still, it's probably a 20-year process with the EPA. And it's not the Ohio EPA, it's the federal EPA. They're the ones that have really came down on the smaller cities now to start do separation. So at this point, we can only do so much financially with the rates that we charge, and without going to the public and the residents and asking for more. We got a 0% loan, which now have been able to do a lot more projects a lot quicker, so maybe we can get them satisfied. Maybe someday we can stop. We get to the point of our activations aren't being at the limit of what they should be, and we can maybe stop the separation. And a lot of our cities done already. We got a long way to go, but we got a lot done in this 0%. We're going to continue to work on the east side of town. Since we started on Southern Avenue, we did the retention pond at the fairgrounds, which alleviated a lot of flooding in the Sherwood, the Robin Hood, the Cullen Court. In that area, it alleviated a lot of flooding in that area. And we're going to continue to separate in that area, and that's what's coming up this next year. We have like 3 different projects that we're trying to do, one right after the other next year, and 2 of them might be going on at the same time.
Yeah. So it's going to be torn up on that side of town just a little bit, but it's all designed to work towards our EPA mandate of separating and not having sewer overflows in the Sandusky River. So, and like Jeff said, we've already got quite a bit done, but we have more to do. So we're going to be doing it for a little while. But so we were able to obtain this loan to help do it quicker and pay it back in with 0 interest. So, talk a little bit about that Whetstone Street project there.
Yeah, is that we have one storm drain now that runs down Whetstone Street from the south to the north, drains out into basically the bottom of the golf course and makes its way to the Sandusky River. Well, right now it can't handle everything that it's taking on, which it takes on all the way up from Whetstone Street, or up Whetstone Street all the way up to Southern Avenue.
Sure.
So we're trying to eliminate some of that coming into there to go down Southern. And then what we're going to do is add another, I do believe it's a 36 to 48 inch pipe that will actually come out right on top of the one that is already there or beside it. And we're actually going to create a concrete swale all the way to the river. That way it alleviates some of the flooding on Wayne and Penn and Nauman. And
Sure. And that'll go directly in the river.
yeah, it's just pure storm water
Sure.
that won't be combined at all. And hopefully that will alleviate everything coming from the south also.
Sure.
Because we'll have 2 separate areas for it to run now. So that'll be coming up.
And those are all been
This
in the
spring and
works for
summer.
a while. They've all been approved by council. Funding's in place on that. Talk a little bit about 2 major paving projects that we have planned for 2018.
Again, these are ODOT projects that we started on. The latest big topic we've been having discussion on is Route 4 North, Sandusky Avenue from Perry Street all the way to Crossroads. Like I said, it's another ODOT project. It's a small cities grant. It's a 80-20. We had started this project back in 2016. It went through a couple committees in council and the planning commission. It was all approved to add bike paths down both sides.
Bike lanes.
sorry,
Bike
bike
lanes.
lanes. Yeah, we know there's some people that park on the west side, and, you know, we made sure that we thought they still had ample parking, and we did an environmental study and did what ODOT asked for. And we do have a meeting coming up in January to invite the public. We can still make that change. It doesn't affect the grant, but we're gonna get that milled and paved all the way from Perry, which is, you know, the three corners of the gas stations by the medicine shop, all the way out to Crossroads is gonna get a new pavement. So we're looking forward to that this year. I know we've put some patchwork on it, but we didn't want to put no more money into it than we had to, because we knew it was coming up in an ODOT
And
project.
that's, a large majority of that is a small cities grant. City has some share of that, but that was a wonderful grant that we were able to get, and, you know, we couldn't afford to do it by ourselves. But in addition to that, Jeff kind of briefly mentioned there's a meeting in January, so we're having a town hall meeting to discuss the bike lanes on both sides of the street on North Sandusky. So that's January 10th. Check the website, check Access Channel. I can't remember. 6 p.m. Kelly says 6 p.m. So January, but keep your eye on those in case there's any change. I don't think there will be. You can have, I know, like we've had a couple meetings already with some concerns about residents, about parking. In all our major routes that come through town, that's the only area, that small section of North Sandusky, where we have state route on-street parking. So most of our other, except for a small patch over here on Walnut, is free for pedestrians. Now, the reason we wanted to put bike lanes is, a couple reasons, is we want our town over the next 5 or 10 or 20 years become a lot more bike friendly. Number one. Number two, we want to give people that work in the industrial park better access and safer access to, you know. So we'll talk about it, and council will make a decision which way they want to go on it. So your input is always needed. You can call us and leave a message if you can't make that meeting.
And if someone has a special situation, those are the kind of things that we need to know about, so that we can
And we've heard
try
a
to
couple- yeah, we've
try
heard a
to
couple.
accommodate it to
Yeah.
make it easy for them still.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's what the town hall meeting's
Yeah,
about.
and we've had a couple people with some special things. So, what about south? We got another project going on Marion Road, right?
We do, starting at Marion Road Branch's office in Dusky, there at the corner by First Federal. We also have that project through ODOT, which is called an urban paving program, if I don't get them backwards.
Sure.
And it's same concept, 80-20 split. We're gonna go all the way out to city limits. And we have talked about a pedestrian / bike lane on both sides of the road from Southern Avenue to Beale, to give some people a place to walk or ride a bike, because there is no sidewalks out there. So that will be coming up this early January or February, that we'll need to have a meeting with those residents. Even though there's nothing to do with parking, in order to do that, we're gonna have to eliminate the turn lane, except when you get up to the lights where you can still make those turns, in order to have room for those walking path and bike lane.
And then Beale Avenue Beale Avenue and Irving Street are both going to have some improvements on those interchanges there.
Yeah, we're actually looking to actually improve the signals. Right now, we use the standard telephone poles that eventually start to bow or bend, and they lose their strength, and the lights begin to sag, and then they don't meet the requirement height that needs to be for semis to go under, and we've had them taken out before, and it's just not a good thing. So we're actually going to put in metal poles, and we'll hopefully eliminate that issue.
Those poles will be like very similar or almost identical to the ones that we have in the downtown area.
Correct.
So when you come in from the north side and the south side, you're going to see some symmetry, and it's a very attractive symmetry. And we're looking forward to doing that. And that's part of the project. But we're also going to be doing our normal mill and pave. We'll be picking those streets pretty quickly for the 2019 project.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we try to look at the whole town. What is our major routes? What do we got to make sure we keep, the highest standard we can for traffic, and then we try to look at every section of town to see where we've been, how they holding up, and which ones we're gonna do next. And I know sometimes people call in and well, we need our road done, or we got a small hole, or something that needs patched. We'll take care of that. But as an overall street, you know, we try to just spread it around and get around to all parts of town, but we can only spend so much. So be patient, and eventually we'll get there.
We will. And also the severity of the winter makes a difference. How many tons of salt we have to put on the roads, and so we'll kind of put that list together, but it may change a little bit before that goes out to bid in the spring too. So we do the best we can, but you're a big part of that because you have approved a 0.5% streets levy, and guess what? It's coming up for renewal in 2019, and that is a critical part of our fund to keep our streets department and our streets in good shape too. And so that we'll be talking a little bit more about that. We appreciate your past support on that, and we're asking for your continued support when that comes up on the ballot in May. What am I forgetting?
Well, we do have, but besides the mill and pave, we have a grant that we use every year called the OPWC.
Mm-hmm.
And next year, typically we use that on repairing water lines that we've had problems with over the years. But next year, we actually have picked an area in town that is a concrete street, which is very expensive, and we put that money towards doing half of that next year. Our share alone, just for the part of that street, is going to be $235,000.
That's just our share.
And OPWC's share is $185,000.
Yeah.
So just to do concrete streets is very, very expensive. But it hasn't been done in 25 or 30 years, or however many long years it's been. And
that's Arrowhead Drive.
yeah,
Arrowhead Drive, yeah.
and we haven't forgot about Edgewood and some of the other areas that are concrete. So we'll get to those.
We drive these streets all the time, so we're aware, and we're trying to prioritize everything and fit it in our budget. Asphalt is very expensive.
So is concrete.
Concrete is even more expensive. In 2019, we're still working. We got the grant from the state for the this permanent stage at Shines Theater, and we're still working on that. We hope to have that in 2019. You want to add anything about that, or? Just so we're working on it. So working on the design right now.
Yes, we did put it out to bid.
Yeah.
We did receive one bid that was more than we have in the budget, more
Okay.
than what we were funded. So we were trying for some other alternate options to see. We just need to fit the grants. It has to be permanent.
It has to be
That's the
permanent,
only
okay.
stipulation.
Okay.
The things that we would like it to be are to have the electrical for sound and lighting.
Sure.
But it would be a big benefit. There's a lot of community use of the art park.
Shines Art Park is getting a lot of use. I mean, it is. It's a beautiful park, and
Santa's there right now.
yeah, Santa's there now. Come on down, and it's a really nice feature, and we're so glad the community came together on that. So many people to thank. First of all, I want to thank you two guys. I've had kind of a health issue this year. I was ill much of the year. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma back in the spring and was in treatment. And fortunately, I was able to make it into work every day, except for the treatment days. But I wasn't here all day. I was sick. So these guys really carried the ball this year, and so I appreciate everybody's support and prayers. And fortunately, I was declared to be in remission about 2 weeks ago, so got some hair growing back in, feeling great. We are excited about 2019 and beyond, and we're looking ahead to our bicentennial. We've got an eye always to the future, but we've got an eye on what we're doing that day to make sure that we're picking up everything that we need to pick up too. Always happy for your comments, and just give us a call. Lots of people to thank. The businesses in this community have been fantastic. The Candlelight Christmas. Did you guys make it to Candlelight Christmas? I know you did.
No, we were.
You guys were they were at the seminar there.
No, the training.
The training, yeah.
Level
Well,
2
Candlelight
certification.
Christmas was exceptional this year. It was with the Horde family donating, and the Farmer Assistance Bank with the icing. Hmm? FC Bank, excuse me. Yeah, they were so generous, and we had a lot of fun downtown. Yeah, and so, thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting that on again this year. Do you guys want to, we're going to wrap up 2018 and wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, but you.
Well, I
I'll give
have
you-
one question.
Go ahead, for me.
Yes, we didn't touch base on, talk a little bit about the Santa Parade.
Yeah,
Wow, it was a great,
yeah, I forgot Carol Ann Smith, how can we forget Santa
I
Parade?
mean,
Well,
wow.
that's why I say there's a lot of people to
What
thank.
a turnout,
Yeah,
you know?
we had a fantastic parade again this year. Carol Ann Smith is a blessing to our community. If you're watching, thank you very much for that. And the Kiwanis and the Rotary, where would we be without our service clubs? Thank you, Kiwanis and Rotary, for doing that. We've also got so many other good service clubs through Lions and Altrusa and all the people that make us a better place. So I think what we'll do now is we're going to sign off. We're going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we thank you on behalf of Kelly and Jeff and myself and our producer Gary Hess. We wish you a very Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous 2019.